Before we open these files, a very necessary warning. Or at least this one particular case. Yes, there will be a trigger warning before each case. We're looking into the narrative of Richard Chase, which involves extreme graphic violence, necrophilia, and cannibalism.
Oh.
This is a look into the mind of a disoriented serial killer who suffered from profound, untreated mental illnesses.
Starting off strong, right?
Yep, listener discretion is absolutely mandatory. And if you are sensitive to the descriptions of versatile crime scenes, turn back now. Welcome to High Frights. Today we're heading to Sacramento, California in the late 1970s. While the rest of the country was worried about the Cold War, the residents of the North Highlands were locked locked their doors for a very different reason. They were being hunted by a man who believed his own heart was shrinking, that his blood was turning into powder, and the only way he would stay alive was to consume the life forced of others.
Fair enough. Jesus.
He didn't skulk in the shadows like a movie vampire, but he walked right through your front door. Before we even get into
So
this.
he did this in people's houses.
Yeah, he just walked into people's house and just kind of did his thing.
Oh. I know we're going for any type of more nothing.
Yeah. The asparagus is ready. Do you have your asparagus ready?
That's it.
We are gardening. If you got it, you can also smoke it. If not, then sucks to suck, I guess.
Sincerest apologies. So rude. Sincerest apologies for that.
It's tough love. It's tough love. Cheers.
Cheers.
I already know we gotta do the coughing ASMR before a case. That one actually wasn't that bad, so I don't know.
You don't know about that.
Yeah, that one wasn't bad.
I just came out from underneath the bed, scared the hell out of me.
The little our pet skinwalker has arrived.
Indeed.
The archives reveal the tragedy and the terror of Richard Chase. Now that the file is actually open, let us begin. To understand Richard Chase, you must understand his delusions. Chase was a severe, disorganized schizophrenic. He was obsessed with his own anatomy. He told doctors that someone had stolen his pulmonary artery, that his heart had stopped beating, and that his blood was literally turning into dust. In 1975, he was involuntarily committed to a mental institution after injecting rabbit blood into his own veins, which was a desperate delusional attempt to quote-unquote refill his system. The staff called him Dracula because of his obsession with blood. And here's the real kicker. Despite his clear danger to himself and others, he was released into his mother's care in 1976. The system looked at a man who injected animal blood and thought, yep, he's fine. He's good.
And had a severe mental obsession with it. Also, this is a weird critique, but if I were this man, of all things, why use rabbit's blood?
I don't know. I mean, I guess that was whatever was closest to him.
That's all I can think of. Because, of all things, why rabbit's blood? It's the one thing that's least compatible with human's blood.
If we're talking about blood compatibility, it's not like you could get a hold of an ape.
I mean, swine is heard to have the same consistency, that it's human blood.
I did not know that, actually.
At least I've heard that. Don't quote me on that. I need to research that again.
We gotta look it up again. I'm 100% sure on that, actually. Can you do me the honors of... Please. Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
He's fixing my asparagus. So in the archives of the criminal profiling, Richard Chase is a textbook example of a McDonald triad. Yeah, that's what it's called. Legally. Not McDonald, MacDonald. MacDonald triad. A set of 3 behavioral characteristics associated with sociopathic and predatory behavior. Chase has checked every box.
Every single
Every box, and they still looked at him like, yep, Coolio, he's cool.
Makes sense.
Sent him out to the public. As a child, he also struggled with persistent endurance, which is bedwetting, pretty much. But as he grew older, he moved into arson and, most disturbingly, extreme animal cruelty.
Because it always leads to fucking animal cruelty.
He began catching, killing, and eating small animals, such as birds, animals, even dogs. Birds, cats, and dogs, sorry. Often raw. And often...
would he still even be alive?
I don't know. He often blended them into milkshakes. And, shakes, pretty much. He believed that he was an alchemist, converting their life into his own. But animal blood wasn't enough, the delusion was hungry. In January of 1978, the quote-unquote vampire graduated from, innocent animals to now human prey. Chase's mythology was a very chilling example. He would walk through neighborhoods and try front doors. If the door was locked, he would just move on. But if it was unlocked, he took it as an invitation. His first victim was named Amber Rose Griffin, a 51-year-old father that was shot in a drive-by. But the true horror began inside the homes. He murdered a woman named Teresa Wallen. She sadly was pregnant in her own home. Yeah, obviously the baby didn't survive, by the way. Yeah, but both of them did not survive. He didn't just kill her, by the way. He committed acts of post-mortem mutilation that defied comprehension. He used a yogurt container to collect her blood for consumption.
That's a whole new level.
Now, here it's saying that the Sacramento Police Department of this time are... The archives of the Sacramento Police Department of this time are a record of pure chaotic panic. There was no profile for this. It wasn't sexual, it wasn't for money, it was for survival. At least in Chase's broken mind. The spree reached its peak on January 27th of 1987 at the home of Evelyn Murath. In a single afternoon, Chase murdered Evelyn. Her friend Danny Meredith, Murdeneth, I believe I pronounce. Apologies if it's not pronounced that way.
Seems about right.
And her 6-year-old son Jason, and a 22-month-old nephew David.
Oh.
I believe the kids' names are filler names, by the way. Yeah. The crime scene was so horrific that seasoned investigators had to seek counseling.
I'd imagine, especially after some shit like that.
Chase had treated the home like a grocery store. He stole Danny's car and took the body of the infant. It was discovered in his car and the trail of blood that led to the police to Chase's apartment. It was a place filled with blood-soaked blenders and dishes, a living testament to a man who had completely exiled reality.
I can't fucking even. Yo, being a investigator, seeing what looks like the trail of something leading into a horror movie scene.
Sometimes that's how most of these cases go, though. You just walk into a horror movie.
Like, oh my god, dude, I wouldn't even be able to. I wouldn't know what I would do if I caught a suspect in a scene like that.
So the files of the trial are a battleground of mad versus evil. Chase's defense argued that he is clearly insane, a man who thought that Nazis, can't say that, and UFOs were drying his blood out. The prosecution argued that his ability to hide his weapon and evade police showed premeditation. In the end, Chase was found guilty to 6 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to death, but he never made it to the last chamber. In 1980, while on death row, he hoarded he hoarded his prescribed antipsychotic medication and ended his own life by overdose. He died in his cell, a man who spent his final days terrified that his heart would finally turn into powder.
A man who died essentially afraid or turning into pirates. This case is fucked.
That's
Like very much the demented thoughts of a very demented man.
yeah. It just goes to show though the system like already had him in custody and could have like prevented it from happening.
Way, shape, or form indicates
Yeah.
of his damn old mother.
I actually wonder too what was the mom doing to keep him contained for that long? Like clearly nothing, but like you know what I mean?
I'm saying,
What happened to the mom?
like that's what
Where'd mom go?
that's what I was trying to figure out. Like, yo, what happened to the mother? Because like, there's no way she just survived that.
Yeah, I'm like, did he do it to his mother as well? I never got any information on that. I was looking for that. It doesn't say if he did anything to his mom or not. Yeah, I hope not. Well, moving on to the next case. You ready? Now, this file involves systematic kidnapping, sexual assault, and the hunting of human beings like a wild game. It deals with the exploitation of vulnerable populations and the chilling premeditation of a serial killer. Listener discretion is very mandatory. If you find the themes of predatory hunting distressing, proceed with caution, please.
Very much so. Especially in the trying times of the allegedness of certain people hunting people for sport. Yes, definitely viewer discretion is mandatory and advised.
Yeah, when we think of Alaska, we think of the last frontier, vast, majestic, and unforgiving. But in the late 70s and early 80s, the danger of Anchorage wasn't just bears or the cold. It was a man with a stutter, a private pilot license, and a bakery. Robert Hansen was a pillar of the community by day, but by night he was a predator. He was a predator who used the Alaskan bush of his private killing field. He didn't just want to kill; he wanted to hunt people.
Fucking Yaucho predator type shit.
Yeah, we're gonna need some mental clarity to really really be able to track this man down. Real quick.
Hold on, some absolute shit.
Are you ready to go?
You think this gardening is gonna give us mental clarity? No, it's gonna make it cloudy, very, very cloudy, so that way I can
For me,
continue to
clarity.
withstand what I'm about to look at.
For me, clarity. I always end up like locking into.
I guess it depends.
So
on the
yeah,
strain.
depends on the person. He gets cloudy. I just get more focused. Since we got to take turns using the lighter, anyways, I'm gonna use it
Yeah.
since I'm already ready. You got it. Smoke it. Join in. Cheers. Oh, it's a bigger one. Oh no! I also gotta see how long we are in recording. Okay. We should be past the threshold. We should be okay to curse. Oh shit.
Oh, we should definitely past the market.
I just want to make sure.
And so I definitely got this video something down anyway.
Okay. Now we have to try to understand Robert Hansen. If you look at the mask, he was a champion archer, a successful business owner, and a family man. He ran a popular bakery in Orangeridge. People liked him. He was a bit awkward, sure, but he had a persistent stutter and a face scarred by acne. But of course, he seemed harmless to most people. But usually, beneath that harmless exterior was a well of resentment. Hanson felt rejected by women and bitterness that stretched back to his childhood. While he was icing cakes and serving neighbors, he was secretly building a toolkit for a very different kind of hobby. He was a master bush pilot, and he owned a super Cub bush plane. It was the ultimate tool for someone who wanted to make people disappear in a state that was 90% roadless wilderness.
Yeah.
Now, Hanson's MO was uniquely terrifying. He targeted women who were less likely to be missed, dancers from local clubs, and, sex workers from Ultrage Fifth Avenue Strip. He would kidnap them at gunpoint, often taking them to his home while his family was away. But the final stage of his ritual happened in the air. Huh?
He had a wife and kids.
He had a wife and kids, yeah.
I think I've heard of a movie based off of this type of shit.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a movie.
I wouldn't be surprised. I have. Oh, holy shit.
Honestly, I'd be more surprised if there wasn't because of this case being so popular in the United States.
There's a movie based off of this, and I'm kind of curious.
I will after.
Yes.
After. So he would fly his victims out into the Kink River Valley, or to the remote woods of and I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, I apologize in advance, Mantasuka Sustini Valley. I believe that's pronounced. Apologies if not. Once there, he would release them into the wild. He would give them a head start, a chance to run, to hide, to survive. Then he would grab his 22, his 223 caliber Ruger Mini 14 rifle and begin the hunt. He treated these women like trophy doll sheep. He was famous for killing them and tracking them down through bushes until he finished the game. The archives show that Hanson's downfall began with a 17-year-old girl who refused to be a trophy. In 1983, Cindy Paulson was kidnapped by Hanson. He had her satcheled in the back of his car, preparing to take her to his plane in Marehill Field. In a moment of incredible bravery, while Hanson was distracted, Cindy managed to leap from the car, even with her hands still cuffed. She ran towards the road and flagged down a passing truck. Now, the person in the truck took her to the police, and she told the police everything. The plane, the cabin, the stuttering man. But here's the dark part about this whole thing. The police initially didn't believe her.
Oh, wow.
Hanson had a solid alibi from a friend and a clean reputation. He almost let a monster walk because he can make good bread.
Makes sense. For a cop, makes sense. If it was donuts, yeah, he would have let him go. Fuck him.
Okay, we're joking.
We're joking.
Jesus. It took a dedicated detective named Glenn Floth, or Flothley? Floth. That's Floth. Sorry. Glenn Floth to bridge the gap. He started looking at the missing girls from Artridge. The ones the police had written off. He worked with FBI profilers to build a picture of the killer. When they got a search warrant for Hanson's home, they found the smoking gun that hidden in the rafters. It was a map of the Alaskan wilderness, and on it Hanson had marked 24 spots with a small neat X. Now the X's weren't obviously secret fishing holes or anything, they were graves. When investigators started flying to these coordinates, they began finding the remains of the women who had been hunted down. The map was a trophy case, a meticulous record of every game Hanson had played and won. Hanson eventually confessed to the murder of 17 women and the kidnapping and assaulting of 30 more. He was sentenced to 461 years plus in life in prison. To ensure that he would never see the Alaskan sky as a free man again, he died in prison in 2014. The archives of the Butcher Baker leave us with a haunting question about the dual life. How many pillars of the community are just masks of something more predatory? Hanson used the vastness of the land to hide his crimes, but he used the respectability of his life to hide himself.
I can't even with that. I'm like, Jesus. It's crazy how some people can just fucking hide their like motive and intentions behind a fucking smile and fucking seemingly good motive.
Yeah.
Especially in that case, dude. Holy shit.
I need to get a drink of water after that. Hold on.
He said he did that to 17 women and assaulted and murdered like in their 31.
So it was like 40, like almost 50 people.
Yeah. Almost 50 lives.
Sorry. I sneeze. Ah. Next case. So the narrative of Lonnie Franklin Jr. involves serial murder, sexual assault, and systematic neglect. It highlights the targeting of marginalizing women and the chilling reality of a predator hiding in plain sight for over 20 years. Listener discretion is mandatory, per usual.
As always.
As always. Also, if you need to, get ready for another garden coming up. We're gardening once before each and every case.
Some of these get a little hectic.
Yeah. So in the 1980s, South LA was a powder keg. The crack Coca-Cola epidemic was tearing through neighborhoods, and the police were overwhelmed. But in the shadows of that chaos, a predator was working. He would kill, disappear for years, and then return to kill again, earning him a nickname, the Grim Sleeper.
That's a new. Okay, that's. Okay. That's a trademark, and I hate how much that is.
Yeah.
The Grim Sleeper. Okay. That's horrible. But I like it. That's a really good name for a killer.
But the scariest thing about Lonnie Franklin Jr. isn't just that he slept. It's that for a long time, the city chose to sleep on his victims.
I don't know. Of course.
Pretty usual. Anyways, you ready to God.
Indeed.
Leaving. You go first since I went first last time.
Finish. Lemon juice. Cheers.
Cheers. Also, I'm pretty sure is this what strand are we using?
No idea. Might be a name for it.
Well, that's dangerous. Don't try this at home.
Indeed. It definitely works. It smells nice, so I'm definitely trust it. Not to mention I've been getting shit from this man for as long as I've been living, so as long as I've known, essentially, so yes.
Okay, fair enough. So the killings began in the mid 80s. The victims were almost all black women, many of them struggling with addiction or poverty. There were vulnerabilities that Franklin exported. He would lure them into his car, assault them, and shoot them with a small caliber handgun. Then he would dump their bodies in alleys, often covered in trash. Between 1985 and 1988, he claimed at least 7 lives. The community knew a killer was out there, but the LAPD kept the investigation quiet. They didn't want to panic the public. But the result was that the women most at risk had no idea that they were even being hunted. Then, of course, the trail went cold. From 1988 to 2002, there were no murders linked to the same ballistic or DNA evidence. This is where the name Grim Sleeper comes from. Investigators assumed that the killer had died, moved, or was locked up for a different crime. However, the sleep may have been more an illusion. Many believe that Franklin never stopped, that he just changed his methods, or that police failed to connect the dots. This era of the archives and the record is a record of systematic neglect. In those days, some investigators used a horrific shorthand for cases involving marginalized victims. So, like the NHI, meaning no humans involved. Because the victims were just sex workers or just addicts, the files gathered dust. They didn't really care. The Sleeper returned in 2002, and then again in 2003 and 2007. But he had made one massive mistake back in 1988. He had attacked a woman named uh, I believe that's Anitra, Anitra Washington. He shot her, assaulted her, and took a Polaroid of her before pushing her out of his moving car. Against all odds, she survived. She gave the police a description, a polite, neatly dressed man driving an orange Ford Pinto. But because the system wasn't looking for any serial killers, her story sat in a folder nearly 2 decades.
You've got to be kidding.
Yeah, instead of opening a whole new case entirely, they just kind of like, oh, well, don't match anything, so, sorry.
Oh, no, that's it.
But in the late 2000s, DNA technology had finally caught up with the archives. Investigators had DNA profiling from the actual crime scenes, but they didn't match anyone in the system. That's when they turned to to a conventional new tool, familial DNA testing. The search returned a partial match to a young boy that received an arrest on weapons charges. He wasn't the killer, but he was likely the killer's son. Detectives focused on the father, Lonnie Franklin Jr., a former trash corrector and LAPD garbage attendant.
Trash corrector?
Collector. Did I not say collector?
You said correct.
Oh, oopsies. Well, former trash collector, sorry. And the LAPD garbage attendant. To get his DNA without him knowing, an undercover officer posted as a waiter at a pizza parlor where Franklin was attending for a birthday party. When Franklin finished his meal, the quote-unquote waiter collected his half-eaten pizza crust and a napkin. The match was 1-1. Meaning, like, it matched perfectly. Yeah. When police raided Franklin's home in 2010, they found a house of horrors that went far beyond the 10 murders he was eventually charged with. Hidden behind a wall, he found a collection of over 180 photos and Polaroids of women. Some who were asleep, some who were unconscious, and some who were wide awake looking terrified. The LAPD eventually released those photos to the public asking for help to identify them. Many were found alive, but others remain missing to this day. Franklin wasn't just a killer, he was a collector of moments of vulnerability. I wasn't able to find anything on, like, his charges. So it kind of just leaves off at that.
Really just straight up leaves off.
So we're moving on to the next one. Because I don't want to stay too long on something like that.
Hey,
Like, no offense. That's a very heavy topic to be on.
I agree. Alright. That's all.
Whew. Okay. So do you want to do the gardening now, or do you want to wait until usually we do gardening time? Okay. The following narrative involves the abduction and murder of two 10-year-old children. It discusses themes of betrayal, deception, and the failure of institutional vetting. This is a heavy chapter in the archives, honestly. So listener discretion is mandatory.
Very mandatory.
Very mandatory. In August of 2002, the small town of Soham was the center of the world's attention. Two best friends, Holly West and Jessica Chapman, vanished during a family barbecue. For 2 weeks, the entire UK held its breath while a massive search took place. But while the community was out scorching the fields, the man who had invited them into his home was giving interviews on national television, pretending to be a highly concerned neighbor. He wasn't just a witness, he was the architect of their disappearance. I'm ready to. This is when we usually garden, so yeah. Um, for the strand suggestion in the notes, I put UK cheese.
So blue cheese.
Yeah, like blue cheese. I've always known it as UK cheese.
Kinda. I'm 50-50 on blue cheese. It's one of my somewhat likable strains because it's very skunky. It's very skunky.
That's the strand that ended up revealing to my family that I partake in gardening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I didn't realize how strong it smelled. I was just down in the basement.
What made you think something called blue
I don't know.
cheese would not have
You gotta
one
keep in
hell
mind
of a
too.
stench? Even though I wouldn't really.
I've been changing. I've been changing both baby diapers and elderly diapers since I was like 9.
No,
So I'm very nose blind to certain things.
fair enough.
It's not good. It's not great.
I feel it. But anyway, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready as well. Cheers. Oh. And keep in mind, this is the final case of the night.
Indeed.
Before we skedaddle or skedaddleese.
Very, very.
Okay, so this starts off on August 4th, 2002. It was a warm Sunday. Holly and Jessica were at a barbecue at Holly's house. They were wearing matching red Manchester United jerseys. An image that would soon become one of the most famous and heartbreaking photos in British history. Around 6:15 p.m., they left to go buy some sweets from a vending machine from a nearby sports center. They never made it back. By the time the sun went down, the quiet village of Sonham was crawling with police, dogs, and frantic volunteers. The search intensified. One man kept showing up in front of cameras. Ian Huntley. He was the caretaker at local secondary schools, the Sonham Village College. He was helpful. He was articulate. He told reporters that the last person to see the girls, claiming he had chatted with them briefly outside his house. But as investigators watched the tapes, something fell off. Huntley seemed almost too involved. He was watching the police cordons. Sorry, he was watching the police cordons, asking questions about forensic techniques, and constantly adjusting his story. He wasn't just a bystander; he was a fan of the chaos he'd created.
Sounds about right for someone like this.
But Huntley didn't work alone. So his girlfriend Maxine Carr was a teaching assistant in the girls' primary school. She told police that she was with Huntley in Sonham on the night that they vanished, providing with a solid alibi. The problem was phone records showed that she'd actually been 100 miles away in Grimsby visiting her mother. She'd lied to protect her boyfriend, thinking that she was covering for a man who might look suspicious. By the time the police realized that the alibi was fake, the damage was already done. The girls had been dead for hours, and the evidence had already been destroyed. On August 17th, the search ended in a remote ditch near Lake Ineth. The bodies of Holly and Jessica were found, but they had been severely burnt in an attempt to hide forensic evidence. However, the archives of the forensic lab tell the real story. Despite Huntley's attempts to scrub his house and his car, investigators found microscopic link. Unique soil and chalk dust on the tires of Huntley's car had matched the specific geology of the site where the bodies were dumped. Yep. They also found a single hair belonging to one of the girls in his house, and the remains of their Manchester United jerseys. They were partially burned in a bin at the school where he had worked.
I'm surprised they even found something along those lines.
The most infuriating part of the Sonham archives is the what if of it all. After Huntley was arrested, it was revealed that he had a history. He was linked to multiple allegations of sexual assault and misconduct with minors in other jurisdictions. But because of a massive failure in the communication between different police departments, he was able to pass a background check and get a job at a school.
It is utterly insane to me.
He was a red flag that had been wiped clean by bureaucracy. Jesus. So we've traveled from the blood-soaked suburbs of Sacramento to the frozen, isolated bush of Alaska, from the ignored alleys of South LA to a quiet schoolyard in the English countryside. On the surface, these four men, Chase, Hansen, Franklin, and Huntley, couldn't be more different. But when you lay their files side by side in the archives, a single terrifying truth emerges. They were all invisible to the system. These stories teach us that the most dangerous predators aren't just ones under our beds. They're the ones that we pass in grocery stores, the ones who may bake our bread, or the ones who offer to help us look for something that's missing. The archives remind us that evil doesn't just roar, sometimes it just waits for an unlocked door or a system that's just too tired to double check for a name. As we look further into 2026, with all of our technology and connectivity, let's not forget the most basic lesson these cases taught us, please.
Please, I beg y'all.
That community and vigilance aren't just words; they're the only things that keep us in that keep the shadows at bay.
So please look out for your community. As annoying as I know it can be sometimes, please look out for the people around you.
This was a heavy journey, but the stories deserve to be told, and the victims deserve to be remembered. Please take a moment to decompress, check your doors, check on your neighbors, check on your loved ones a little, and hold them a little closer tonight. If you got thoughts on which cases hate you the hardest, you know, you know what to do already. I don't even gotta say it anymore. So keep the lights on.
Quite literally.
Stay safe, stay lifted. This has been High Frights. Bye!
What?